Hi, CP.
Hi, Mummy Bear.
It's Chit-Chat time.
It is. We have episode 78 with the wonderful Liz Knight.
That's right. You can cast your mind back to Gardeners World 2026, episode 10.
Yes.
Liz was on the programme. She had a segment where she was specifically showing us about foraging, not out yonder there,
No.
but in your own back garden.
Exactly. Right there under your feet in the bushes.
In the bushes.
In the borders.
In the borders, yeah,
Exactly.
of your own garden. And you may remember she talked about things like being able to eat honesty.
Mm-hmm.
You get a nice wasabi pea from that.
Yeah.
Also being able to eat ground elder, and that was a revelation for us because you can, in fact, eat it. Apparently it's delicious.
Yeah.
So she's turned us from seeing ground elder as an absolute pain in our garden and a real problem to actually being able to look at it and think, well, that's a nice healthy crop.
Yeah, I can do loads. She's given us loads of recipes for that.
Yeah.
And just generally, it's quite amazing. So now when we look at it, we have kind of a bit of a hedge of it.
Yes.
We're like, boom,
bit happier.
Crop.
We can confidently say we've nailed ground elder.
We have nailed ground elder.
Another plant that's a bit of my nemesis is Japanese knotweed. Now, I've never experienced
Traumatic
it firsthand. I don't think I've ever seen it in the flesh.
No, I don't.
But I have had a huge fear of it.
Yeah.
If you've listened to any of the other Chit-Chats, you'll know I often bring it up. And Liz has turned me on that one as well. So my fear came from a mother who's eternally worried about it, a brother who struggled with it in London when he got a house there. But actually, from listening to Liz, it's actually a truly wonderful plant with many strings to its bow.
Exactly.
And now I have a totally different view of it. So thank you, Liz, for that.
It's fantastic.
And Liz talks about a study that was done at Leeds University about Japanese knotweed. And I found a link to that study. So I've added that to our website.
Oh,
I'll give you details of that in a minute. But first of all, there were a couple of updates to the recording, Sweet Pea. Liz mentioned a viburnum. Couldn't remember exactly which one it was. Have you got the name?
Yes, it was the viburnum cross bodnantense dawn.
That's right, the arrowwood dawn.
Yes.
And one other thing, in the pesto recipe that I give, I forgot to include the key component of, well, any dish as far as I'm concerned, but certainly for your pesto, and that's garlic.
Oh my gosh, how did you forget that?
Always whacking a load of garlic.
Yes.
In terms of noises, you'll find there are some quite hard plosives to start with, but then Liz was able to readjust her mic, so she managed to sort that out. So do just hang on in there. The audio does improve.
Yes.
You can get over the initial couple of minutes with that. And then I think partway through, it's one of Liz's daughters making breakfast in the background at one point. But as mentioned, we have added links to the website, so you need to go to notjustagarden.co.uk. If you click on Chit-Chats and go to Liz's face,
hell yeah,
in there you'll find all the links. We have in there her website, the 3 books that she's written, social media for her, also her pond or pool inspiration. There's an image of that.
That's a good point.
And also a couple of other books that she recommended. So you'll find that Leeds University paper about Japanese knotweed in there.
Great.
And Liz has got one pin on the map for a garden that she highly recommends that's in Wales. So head over to the gardens page. You'll find all the details in there.
Fantastico.
So, Sweet Pea, what's the format?
So for Liz Knight's Dream Garden, we have garden boundary, shed or greenhouse, 5 ornamentals, 5 edibles, 1 statement tree, pond or pool plus 1 plant, and finally favourite seating area, drink, and 1 plant for that area.
Yes, and if you have any questions or comments on anything we've chatted about, please do get in touch. You can do that either through the website,
notjustagarden.co.uk,
or through the email,
notjustagarden@outlook.com.
Right, shall we have a listen to this episode?
I think we should.
This is episode 78, a good old chit-chat with Liz Knight.
Off we go!
Welcome, Liz, to a good old chit-chat.
It's so lovely to be here with you. I listened to your review of episode 10 of Gardeners World and absolutely adored it. And it was so lovely to hear your chit-chat of your incredible knowledge of Gardeners World, but also of the garden.
It is a bit like our little chit-chat.
And your mother-daughter relationship. So, lovely to be here.
So kind of you to say. Yes, it was episode 10. That was only a couple of weeks ago.
It was.
And your segment was specifically around foraging. And we absolutely loved this because we love the idea of foraging. We're amateur foragers.
We all are.
I think what we lack is confidence, really, in what we're foraging for. But there were several plants that you mentioned that we absolutely recognise, absolutely have in our garden, and are absolutely planning to start eating now.
Oh, great.
You pretty much immediately afterwards went out to the garden and went, honesty, right? I'm having some of those seeds.
Did you
They're
try
like
it?
wasabi peas.
Yeah.
Did you get the wasabi pea flavour?
Yes,
It
and
was
it's a
crazy.
delayed impact, isn't it?
It is a delayed gratification. It comes,
Yeah.
you kind of get lulled into it and think, oh, it's really sweet, and then it suddenly hits.
Bang. Yeah.
Bang. And the nice thing is when you let them go to that papery, because you know that kind of how everyone in the 80s used to have the kind of dried flowers and honesty pennies with part of that sort of whole thing, and they're having a real resurgence now. People are using them in beautiful flower arrangements and for like Christmas decorations and stuff,
they're
and they're
stunning,
so
aren't
lovely.
they?
Yeah, but if you get them exactly the right time when they've turned papery, those seeds are still a tiny bit green, and then they have just like intensified in their flavor. So you can very carefully peel them apart, take out your seed, and what I tend to do is have a little tiny bottle of cider vinegar, and you just cram the seeds into that bottle of cider vinegar, and it acts like an extract. It'll extract all of that intense flavour that you can then like drizzle into, I don't know, mayonnaise or cream if you want to make a remoulade or something like that. And so it's like an intense, flavouring. You can use it, kind of on your sushi or whatever. But then you also have left, if you peel them carefully, your very on trend kind of
pretty
arrangements that you can use as your Christmas decorations.
We have done that before.
When we tried our wasabi pea honesty, it was with a very green disc.
Yeah.
So you're saying wait until it's dried.
Well,
on paper.
It'll just change. It'll just intensify in its flavour. It's a funny plant because the flowers of honesty are sweet, and I mean so sweet that you can put them into sweet things. You can use them as an edible flower, on puddings and stuff. Even though they've got that very slight mustardy, they've got this lovely kind of floral flavour and kind of like honeyed flavour to them. And then the leaves are more peppery, and so it kind of like it sort of like goes on a kind of a trajectory of intenseness over the season, I guess. But yeah, it's lovely, and it's not just the leaves and the flowers and the seeds that you can eat. You can also eat the roots, the swollen roots.
Oh, right.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you eat those?
They're tuber-like. Well, just literally, you can like a kind of a root vegetable. They're a little bit like a more water kind of crunchy sort of Jerusalem artichoke. So they're imagine they're turnipy, a bit like a kind of a very moist, young turnip, radishy, all of those kind of flavours. But you can dig them through the winter. So if you've got honesty, it does that thing, doesn't it, where you can have not enough, but suddenly your garden might be completely overgrown with it.
Yep.
And so if you leave that first year growth, and then in the winter, if you want to get rid of the honesty, or if you want to move, they're not very happy being moved, but I have sort of successfully moved honesty before. But if you want to dig any clumps up, leave them till the winter, and then when you dig them up, they look like a whole bunch of balloons that have slightly sagged. They don't look particularly beautiful, but
and then you
get quite a cluster, and then you can roast them, or you can just kind of scrub them and use them in winter salads or whatever. But they're nice. They're mild and lovely, but with that lovely kind of a mild radish kind of flavour.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to try that because Sweet Pea got her honesty game on a few years ago, and we've been enjoying them kind of every other year.
Every other year since.
We haven't yet managed to get the succession quite.
Yes. I suppose you just need to hold on to some seed, don't you, and then do that.
Exactly.
Making sure, but I think partly, in a way, for me, that biennial kind of planting is a bit of a joy of its own, isn't it? Because it's giving you a year without means you have to kind of find other things, and
and you appreciate it more when it comes back.
You appreciate it more when it comes back. You do.
Yeah. Well, so you talked about honesty on the show, and you talked about some other plants that I'd love to get onto. But first of all, when we were doing our little bit of research on you, we read on your website that you said how you got into it because you found this secondhand book.
I did. I've got it behind me somewhere. It was Collins Wildflowers of Britain and Europe. Just those little
white ones.
Oh no, kind of the slightly long, like ID, field ID books, and they're all color coded, really easy to use. And I bought one from a charity shop. Oh God, it must be 25 years ago or so. And we've just moved to just outside Monmouth to a flat in an old manor house. And everybody around us, there were like had been botanists that had lived in the main parts of the houses. There was like a number of houses around it, and everybody was adults. We were like in our early 20s, and everybody had these amazing gardens and just beautiful things in them, including Japanese knotweed, bizarrely, that had been planted as an ornamental by the original botanists that had lived there. And
Crazy.
we were given a scrap of land in front of the old walled garden, and it was next to the churchyard. And I think it was where unconsecrated graves were probably.
Oh, right.
But it was
Ooh.
just full of Japanese knotweed. But it also
Well, the land that you were given.
the land I was given.
How close is that land to your house?
Oh, not too close, and it was before the year that
Okay.
you had to be worried about that. But actually, there's Japanese knotweed there's been a lot of work done on Japanese knotweed as to how invasive it actually is, and it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. And it's also unbelievably important medicinally and as a food plant. Like,
Okay.
it's unbelievable.
So we're going on a tangent here, but
We won't. Yeah, don't.
no, I would love
do
to
live
talk about
my world
Japanese
in
knotweed.
tangents, I'm afraid. So
Well, I'm happy to hear that. But I did have in my notes, I did want to ask you about knotweed at the risk of sounding like I'm obsessed by knotweed, because I do bring it up a lot in our chit-chats.
You do.
Because I have a fear of it.
Oh no, don't
I'm fearful.
fear it.
But then we do speak to people like yourself. So we spoke to a garden designer the other day, who for a chit chat, and he was talking about how he had Japanese knotweed at the end of his garden that he thought was rather beautiful. So he kept a patch, and he would just mow around it, and he would mow any that was coming through. He's called them spears that shot up through the grass, which didn't help me with my fear of Japanese knotweed. But he just mowed that, and he said it was incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
We've also heard from Mandy Barber, for example, who does incredible vegetables. She does perennial veg, and she talked about how delicious it is to eat knotweed.
Yeah. Well,
so what is it? You say we're learning a lot more about it. What is it that you know about knotweed, so you can help me rid me of my fear?
Yeah. So my first encounter with Japanese knotweed was when I moved into this house, and I had lots of Japanese knotweed, and I've never, just instinctively, never used any kind of chemicals in my gardening, just because I just never kind of liked the idea of it. So I spent a couple of years pulling up Japanese knotweed and burning it. And unfortunately, I didn't know at that point that you could eat it, so I wasn't foraging at that point. But it's beautiful. Once I realised it's a really stunning plant to eat. It's related to rhubarb, so you can use it in a very similar way. And it's used an awful lot in Japan. It's kind of a really important food source, and so the reason why I don't fear it as an invasive is a number of things. So my own personal experience is that I managed it. We moved away from there 20 years ago, and then I was asked to write my first book, Forage, which featured Japanese knotweed in it. And if you listen to anything, you'd think that there was literally, you walk out your doorstep and you have to walk through a forest of Japanese knotweed, and the country is infested.
Yeah.
Actually, there was no one. I put a call out. I don't eat Japanese knotweed because I can't find any. So there's none of it around me. It's really hard to come by in reality when you're actually wanting to get it, unless you live in an area with lots. And so I drove back to the house that I used to live in, thinking no one was gardening this little strip of land that I used to have as a garden. And so no one had been gardening it since I'd left. So I thought, it's going to have come back. I went back, it wasn't there. I had got rid of it, but just simply by my process of weakening the roots. But I knew that the original invited in patch where this botanist had lived in the turn of the century, they had never got rid of their Japanese knotweed, my old neighbours. So I went and knocked on their door, and we went for a hunt through their garden. She's a really amazing gardener, very, so her garden was lush and incredibly healthy, ecosystem. And we literally found one stem amongst her garden. Like, oh, I think I've got some somewhere, kind of like, and it was so this fear that this plant was just going to take over, it didn't happen because the environment was healthy and diverse. And actually, when you look at what happens with Japanese knotweed in its natural setting, it does exactly the same thing. So it lives on volcanic mountainsides. You probably know this already. So it lives on volcanic mountainsides in Japan. And when there's an explosion, there's a lava flow, everything's just decimated, everything's gone under thick layers of lava. And yet years later, you go back to those sites and volcanic mountainsides suddenly become incredibly fertile environments.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why they do is that Japanese knotweed can be huge amounts of meters under the ground, and it can it can send up shoots that will crack through the lava. So it'll grow, and it's a pioneer plant, so it'll grow hugely tall. I mean, it will send down roots meters into the ground as well. So it'll pull up any kind of nutrition. It'll pull up anything from the ground. So it's a mining plant. So actually, it pulls up toxins as well as nutrition, kind of good stuff and bad stuff. So it's a cleaning plant. It'll clean the ground, but it'll find any kind of nutrition to grow. And then it'll burst through the lava, like when you see kind of roads with the tarmac and dandelions will pop through.
Yeah.
Similar thing, but on a bigger level. And then, as you see, Japanese knotweed grows really, really fast and then dies back every year. So it quickly creates a lot of organic matter. And it has very, very kind of attractive flowers, which is one of the reasons why we have Japanese knotweed everywhere all over the world, is because both plant hunters thought it was this beautiful plant. It was planted to line Central Park in New York. One plant was the mother plant that became all the plants which grow all across the world now. It was introduced to places like Kew and all of these as an ornamental plant, as it was to the house that I lived in. And so what it does, though, is it attracts pollinators and, kind of birds, which will have seeds on them. So it starts to pull in all the things which will then be bringing other species with them. And they drop, and then they're able to grow in that organic matter. And over time, the Japanese knotweed then recedes because other plants are growing. So you don't go to these environments and find just Japanese knotweed. Actually, what you'll find is to begin with just Japanese knotweed, and then you'll find other things encroaching. And we have this, there's lots of plants which do that. Birch forests will have done that as the first pioneer plant, and then they they create this environment.
My work here is done.
My work here is done. I've improved the soil. I've done this. I've drawn things in, and they recede. And then you allow these next layers in. So you allow, these next layers of plants. And so and it's very, very similar with Himalayan balsam. If you actually go down to a patch of Himalayan balsam, you will often find real diversity of species. So we have a very negative association with these plants we regard as invasive. I have a real issue with the word invasive anyway, because I think that our planting is a representation of plants from all over the world. Because of what we've done, we've brought them in, but also, we were until so very recently part of mainland Europe. So a lot of our plant is Eurasian. We don't really have anything that is just us. And I think, and plants have always moved. There's always been that movement of plants. But so Japanese knotweed, we hate it. We get really scared by it, and the reason why we get really scared by it is because I think it was in the 70s or 60s, I'm not sure. There was a massive very polluted industrial area of Swansea that was all of the businesses collapsed, whatever, and were flattened. And there was planning permission given to build thousands of homes, huge housing development. And it was given an immediate permission. And actually, you look at kind of like heavy polluted environments, should houses be put on those environments straight away? Probably not. And actually, they wouldn't be allowed now, without kind of like big environmental surveys. But these houses were allowed to be put on. And then there was an awful lot of topsoil brought into that environment, which had Japanese knotweed in it, and then tarmac and houses built. And so the Japanese knotweed started growing through the tarmac, doing its job. And actually,
like volcanic rock.
if you had let the Japanese knotweed grow, nothing else was growing. So that's an indicator to the fact that the soil's not healthy. But Japanese knotweed can, because it can grow in any soil. And then if the Japanese knotweed had been allowed to grow for a certain amount of time, it would have drawn out all of the pollutants, all of the heavy metals, all of those kind of things which were in the soil to make it healthy, to be able to then remove it or whatever. But we have this instant, got to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
And so there was a big survey that was done that assessed kind of the invasiveness on Japanese knotweed, and it was done with Swansea is its focus area, and then we kind of went, all of it's like that here, it's like that everywhere, which is why then suddenly you couldn't get insurance on houses, it was difficult to get mortgages, you could sue someone if you snowballed. And then in 2020, Leeds University did a big study, because the prevailing view became that it was such a crazy plant that it would send its roots from one place under your buildings. But plants don't grow like that, especially Japanese knotweed, because it wants to go up. It wants to go, plants don't spread their roots in that way, and then shoot. They're kind of, they're not stupid, are they? They're kind of light seekers. They're drawn to it. And so Leeds University did a big study that was published in 2020 that was looking at actually how does Japanese knotweed grow. So they put in situ studies and of course discovered that Japanese knotweed doesn't do the thing where it trails along and then grows up. It only does that if something's built on an existing patch of Japanese knotweed or some existing root or whatever.
Okay.
So you've got to be careful where you grow, but laws are slowly changing around that. But it's all published, and it's kind of a really good study. And the stupid thing is that our management processes of Japanese knotweed are incredibly expensive. So it make a few people an awful lot of money, which I suspect fueled the fire of digs them out. But so it's either you have these hugely expensive digging programs or incredibly damaging sprays which leach out, and so you're killing something but you're killing everything else in the environment. And actually I don't even know how well it works with the systemic sprays, but it certainly works on other plants, injecting them into the Japanese knotweed. And then the stupid thing is we then have a really big import market for Japanese knotweed, because Japanese knotweed has just been approved really recently by Johns Hopkins University as being one of the 2 things that can stop the progressions of Lyme's disease.
Oh gosh, now we're going on another tangent.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
So Japanese knotweed has got incredible compounds in it which help with the circulation, like ginkgo. So it's right to the tips of your brain, your everything, your circulatory health. So it's being, there's lots of explorations into it. So it's used around heart health, but it's also being looked at for lots of other things. So you take ginkgo for cognitive health.
Yeah.
It's a sort of very similar plant. I'm not a herbalist, so you need to kind of go away and do your own research as to it. But you can, herbalists do prescribe Japanese knotweed, and Japanese knotweed is used for heart condition. It's used as a pharmaceutical herb.
Right.
So we get rid of ours, import it. We have this increase in Lyme's disease.
Yeah. Which is another thing I'm fearful of.
Huge thing.
But so how is it used as a preventative measure for Lyme's or a cure for
I think
Lyme's?
it's a cure. I think it's a cure.
Right.
As I said, I'm not, kind of a herbalist or a medic.
Very interesting.
Really worth finding out. So those 2, ginkgo and Japanese, so we love ginkgo until, the fruits fall and they stink and everything. But
Very true.
Well, I didn't know it's being imported for that, because I knew a lot of work was being done around Lyme's, because it is on the increase, isn't it?
It really is globally.
So what you've done there is actually you're helping with 2 of my big fears: one Japanese knotweed and one Lyme's. So I'm now going to research a whole load more about this.
Yeah.
How fascinating! Well, and also, so if you did have Japanese knotweed, how would you manage it?
So the patch that I had in my garden where it was thriving, nothing else was growing, because it turned out it was like the midden heap for the old manor, so I found lots of old bits and pieces in there, so it wasn't really very fertile. So I improved the soil, kind of. There's that dichotomy, isn't there, that I love wild plants, but at the same time I love gardening, and I only had a little garden, and I didn't want it to be totally overtaken by Japanese knotweed. I wanted to put my table and chair there.
Yes, obviously.
So I pulled it, and so and had that more kind of rather, and maybe it's because I wasn't fearful of it, that I didn't have that kind of got to get rid of this awful thing. That actually I just kind of, you see a little shoot coming up, you just get rid of it, and so it's just you just harvest, you're just weeding it like a normal weed, and you're not having a different emotional response to it. And then I burnt it. But as I said, now if I'd known then what I know now, I would have then taken it and cooked with it, because at the same time that I was trying to grow Japanese knotweed, we're not trying to grow Japanese knotweed, getting rid of the Japanese knotweed. What I was trying to grow was rhubarb. I am dreadful at growing rhubarb. I just can't do it. I think I'm just a really, I'm probably just not good at kind of following instructions on how to make things really good. So, but you can use Japanese knotweed exactly as you use rhubarb.
Oh,
Right.
Same family. It's enriched in oxalates. You've got soak it to get rid of those oxalates, and
You do have to do that, did you say?
yeah,
Yeah,
ideally
okay.
so in Japan, Japanese knotweed, when it's eaten, often it'll get sort of soaked in a salt solution, and that kind of draws
Okay.
out the things.
Oh,
So it's ways
cool.
of making Japanese knotweed something that is all the goodness for you rather than the downside of it having
Yeah,
lots of
yeah.
oxalic acid.
Okay.
But yeah, there's lots of oxalic acid in, obviously, rhubarb and sorrel and nettles, and
Yeah.
there's oxalic acid and everything, and we need a certain amount of it in our diet. But yeah, Japanese knotweed, definitely. I think if you have it, it's better to take away that fear. I think there's nothing worse than thinking there's something in your garden that's just awful
Yeah.
and like fearful, and you've got to sort out and actually, yeah, have a if I mean so I'd say hopefully it's like it's a ground elder thing, isn't it? You kind of go, well, hopefully you haven't got any, but if you have, it's great. And actually,
Yeah.
I don't really think hopefully you haven't got ground elder. I kind of hope everyone's got a little bit that they can manage.
We have.
Well,
Yeah, and
we
they can
definitely have
control.
that.
That's another plant. Ground elder is in abundance in our garden.
Yeah.
And I've just always spent a lot of time pulling it up, to the extent that, so I'm not fearful of ground elder. I just find it a bit of a pain. And the smell now I associate with just the trauma of
Yeah.
pulling it up all the time. So I don't like the smell. But then you mentioned that on the show, how you can eat ground elder.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's just beautiful. And I do wonder whether it was interesting to hear you say about how you don't like the smell. I wonder whether you wouldn't like the taste because and it's the emotional association of
It's
taste and
emotional,
flavor.
yeah.
So it influences us so much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot that, well, there is a lot that of flavors we don't like as adults that you can link back to when was the moment that you stopped liking that, when something traumatic happened or whatever. As a child, might have been that you dropped your lollipop. Hugely traumatic moment, but to a
Hugely,
child it
yeah.
might have been horrific.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Got told no, you couldn't have that.
Yes.
Scarred
for life.
Scarred for life. Yeah. We're going to destroy you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just another thing they can go to counselling about, isn't it?
Yes, there you go.
What they
Therapy
can't,
for that.
But yeah, but yeah, ground elder. So it'll be interesting to see whether you do ever like ground elder as a flavour. I think it's beautiful.
Well, can you remind us how you eat your ground elder?
Well, if you think it's very close, it's in the carrot family. So it's one of those carrot family plants, which obviously you have to be very careful with the carrot family, because there are some delicious, there are some deadly. But ground elder looks like ground elder. So ground elder is a very safe plant to harvest.
Yeah.
Because it's very specific in how it looks. So you look for things like shapes of stem, the leaf, the smell, the flower shape, all of that. Get to know plants slowly. But anyway, once you've got to know your ground elder, and you've got it, I'm sure if you've got it, you've got it.
Yeah.
Then as soon as it starts coming up in the spring, and again, now with our winters being kind of less cold generally, you'll probably find that some people might have them through little shoots through the year. So early in the spring, they'll start sending up leaf shoots, so the leaves will come individually from the ground, and you can start harvesting them. And it's sort of early on, it's got parsley flavour, but it's also really rich in beta carotene, so it's got carrot flavour, and it's also rich in the kind of oils which are in lemon and citrus fruit. So it's got the lemony orangey flavour. Well, I know. I mean, we all have got an ottolenghi bakotu, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Pretty much every recipe where he uses parsley, he'll be having those flavors go. A bit of roast carrot, bit of so those flavors just go together so
What's
beautifully.
Not to like?
What's not to like? Parsley's a really strong flavor by itself, but it's got quite a punchy.
Yeah.
Whereas ground elder's kind of, it's difficult to explain it's got more rounded, it sort of seems to spoke off in different ways, if that makes sense. So you can get different, that tastes like that, and so it fills your mouth with different flavor profile, same flavor, but with different things added to it.
So you're chopping that up as you would with parsley?
Absolutely.
Oil.
So you can use the kind of the young leaves right through till, when they become quite tough, they become a bit more lovely, which again, is a sort of sibling plant. So you can still use them when they get older and tough. I mean, I use them right through the summer, even if you might chop them down once they've flowered or gone to seed. They mainly spread through their roots, don't they, rather than kind of the seeds.
Yeah.
But the whole process, so right from when they first come up in the spring, you can start using the leaves. The flowering stems are really lovely when they're tender. You can just chop them up and sort of sweat them off as a vegetable. And they're quite substantial. The flower buds before they open are just really lovely. They've got kind of a slight astringent kind of flavour to them, that kind of drying flowery kind of, but with all of the kind of ground elder flavour with them. So they're lovely, just, I don't know, put in an omelette or whatever, could have, again, put into salads and stuff. When the flowers are open, they are great as an edible flower in salads. They are a little bit of a laxative when they're open. So, just be aware. You don't want to go kind of gorging on them then. And then when they go to
unless
seed,
you're having problems in that area,
exactly, you might. And then when they go to seed, you can even gather the seed, and the seed has, if you've eaten like naan breads with kind of nigella seeds and ajwain, the seed is very, very close to ajwain seed, which you can buy as a spice in the supermarkets.
Right. Wow.
Interesting.
And it's delicious. So you can gather your own spice from, kind of from ground elder.
Amazing.
It's a beautiful thing. And then then it kind of flops, and it stops. So it's in full flower in my garden right now. It's absolutely full of that. You will never see a plant with more pollinators on, and different types of pollinators than ground elder. It's the plant. It's unbelievable, and really beneficial insects. It's just fantastic. And then once it kind of goes over and it's gone to seed, then it doesn't look great. So at that point, I cut it back, and I learned this technique from an amazing gardener called Sue Mabberley, who runs a garden called Nanty Beth Gardens, which is just outside Abergavenny, in the Black Mountains, and it's very, very high up in the hills, and so it's quite difficult to grow lots of stuff. But she has, over the years, created this stunning forest garden, permaculture garden. It's kind of a bit of everything. And she has a huge swathe of ground elder that for years she kind of tried battling with. And then one day I was like, they're beautiful. And actually, when you let ground elder go to flower, they are the most beautiful flower. They will stay as a cut flower. They beautifully, far nicer than cow parsley, because cow parsley gets that funny smell after a few days of being inside. Ground elder doesn't do that at all. But what she does, because she's she's a very light touch gardener, so her garden's this wild garden, but what people don't realize is that she's gone around doing a little bit, of curating,
a
little bit of tweaking. And what she does to tweak her ground elder to make it beautiful is that when it's in flower, she takes off the bottom leaves, so you just have these spires of flowers on these very slender stems, so you can kind of see through them.
Oh, right.
And it becomes
that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then she chops, and she leaves her ground elder choppings in a pile by where the ground elder grows, so it's not spreading it where she doesn't want it. And then it grows back again, and within a couple of weeks, that bare ground becomes lush with new growth. So she's got more ground elder for her salads and stuff through the summer.
Okay.
It's really, really lovely trick.
It's incredibly helpful hearing all this. It truly is, because it puts the emphasis in a different place on all these plants, and I think there's a yin and yang of everything, isn't there? And to hear some of the positives from plants that we've only seen as negative, you then just go out into your garden feeling much more relaxed. Like I now, ever since seeing you on Gardener's World, I see the ground elder and I go, yeah, great, we'll do something with that. Whereas before it's like, oh no, I'm gonna go pull that up now.
I honestly think that there's a thing that when you put a value on something and something suddenly changes into something that you can either see it's giving benefit, maybe not directly to you, but maybe to other animals that kind of down the chain, because we're all connected, suddenly transforms the way that we view things. And I grew up in the era of stripy lawns, and there's a little bit of me, it's still like, oh, I like to have that, but our gardens are so public, aren't they? They're so, they are. I literally live on a footpath, so people can walk through my garden and see it. And some people will be like, oh my gosh, it's we'll see it as a mess. Whereas to me, it's just beautiful and lush. And when it's in flower and when there's so much going on, and then I have to kind of cut it back kind of once everything's after the summer, when it's all, because I don't like that kind of flop of everything.
Yeah.
And then and then there's like air through things, and kind of late summer, and then it kind of comes again. But yeah, we're so fixated, I think, with what people think of us, that I think that our gardens are almost a direct reflection of how of our inner monologue about how the world views us and how we're judged.
That's so true. I think we're also like that in our own appearance as well.
We are. We really are.
We worry too much about what other people think, don't we?
And then I think I think that you have to have, I think that we're psychologically, there's something that switches in us, that when you're, to allow a garden to be messier, more natural, to look looser, which benefits everything, but by knowing that we have to have the back, we have to have the stuff that comes back to us, and the stuff that comes back to us is, I can eat that. That's my food. That's my medicine. That's my, that's something else's food and something else that's important to me. And we're so disconnected from the cycle of the world and the environment we live in, that we have that we've lost that. And I think by reconnecting, it's literally is nature connection. I know people talk about nature connection, but actually we are just part of it. We are just, and to the extent that every cell in our body, the water in our bodies has been here forever, and has been through all of these plants, and has been through dinosaurs, and has been through rocks. And we are, that I'm not particularly spiritual or whatever. I'll probably sound a bit woo then saying that, but we're all incredibly, and as soon as you realize that, we're just,
I couldn't agree with you more. And also, how could we be anything else other than connected with it? What makes us so special that we stand apart from nature, Mother Nature, the earth?
We are it. We're part of it. And
absolutely. Gosh, I mean, I could talk for hours. We must loop back to, though, before we go on any more tangents, this book, because I was so intrigued this book that you came across. And that's what opened your eyes to this world of foraging.
So sat in my Japanese knotweedy garden.
That's it,
with the book that I bought. I had been trying to garden this garden for a couple of years, and make it vegetable, nice straight lines and everything, and put some roses in and everything, and I used to pull up plants and be like, oh God, it smells so nice and garlicky. What a shame you can't, what a shame it's not, because I'm not growing my garlic very well. And this is like really mustardy, and wow, isn't that amazing? Had no idea, I used to pick elderflowers and stuff, but I had no idea about all the plants that you could use. And then bought this book from a charity shop. So I was interested in IDing plants, and laced through all of the pages was just sort of annotations, and it would say things like, eat the stems in a salad, cook the roots in the winter, do this, do that. And it was just like, oh my goodness, all of these plants. And it wasn't a foraging book at all, it was just literally a wild plant book. And whoever owned this book before me had taken the time, don't know who it was, had taken the time to annotate probably just the things that they were learning, don't know who they'd learnt it from, and were just writing down. They hadn't included everything. They weren't like a pro, there were loads of plants in there that they kind of hadn't kind of written down, but it was just these few bits, maybe one or two on each page, that they had discovered that you could eat, that then was like, wow, okay, I can do this, I'll find out about that. And it was kind of like big internet. You couldn't just go away and search on stuff, so you had to then go and get books. And got like Roger Phillips books, and Philip maybe, and started my foraging journey there.
So it opened up this whole new world to you.
Yeah, and I don't know, I need to try, and I think it's really amazing. It's just like that moment that you don't realize the impact you have on the world. So that person doing that one thing, maybe just purely for themselves, probably it was, they probably weren't thinking about it, but the impact that that's had led me to discover foraging, led me to becoming a foraging teacher, and doing quite a lot of TV stuff, and teaching courses and doing talks. And I think over the last 15 years, I probably have spoken to quite a few 100,000 people, about plants and foraging. And I think that it wasn't me that triggered that. So there could be hundreds of thousands of people. The catalyst was someone else, and the catalyst for them would have been someone else.
Yeah, quite amazing.
It is amazing, isn't it? It is amazing that those things you do.
Your life off on a
and has taken other people's lives off, because there are people who have come on courses, or who have just done, a walk with me or have seen some things that have gone and like, I didn't know about that, and investigated and started their own business about a plant or whatever. Yeah, the spread is and it's not to do with me, it's to do with it's to do with the plants, isn't it? And that that if we share our knowledge, and I feel incredibly privileged to be able to do that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Gosh, so you took the ball and ran with it, basically.
Yeah.
And you say that you teach about foraging. Your career is now based around that. So what's your day job?
So my day job for many years so before I got into foraging, I'd worked in social services, and before that in big corporate computers and stuff when I left university. So had a kind of a varied career. My kids always joke at me saying I must have been sacked from lots of jobs, and I keep going, no, I wasn't. I just was promoted.
Promoted to foraging.
So for the last 14 years, I've been teaching and writing, and I first set up a wild food preserves business. So basically foraging, wild food has been my income for that time. But actually through that time, I never wanted to be self-employed. I like being with people. I love teaching, but it kind of worked really well for whilst I was at home with young children. But there was an organisation that I worked with over that time who are just, a wonderful organisation that make botanical extracts. So they are based not too far from me, and I've supplied them before, and I've cooked for them and taken them on walks. They're an organisation called Blue Sky Botanics, and they're based near Ross-on-Wye on an organic farm, and they were set up originally as a herb farm, and then 20 years ago started making extracts from the herbs. It's an organic farm-based business, and they're real pioneers. So you probably, if anyone's sat listening to us now drinking a glass of elderflower cordial they bought from the shop, it's probably got an extract from Blue Sky, because we've literally this week been having hundreds of kilos of elderflower come into the site to be processed into extracts. But their whole business philosophy is around making extracts with things. So we grow roses. I've been involved in, we've had rosarian Michael Marriott this year has come and helped to establish a bigger rose field for us. So we make rose extracts for cosmetics and for food and beverage. But also we source a lot from overseas. So we work with a lot of communities where there might be, real poverty, but there might be an amazing weed growing that is used traditionally that we turn into an opportunity for people to be able to harvest and make.
How interesting.
So to be able to support those economies. So, a lot of stuff we kind of just supply and source normally, but there's a few, kind of really exciting projects. So we do a lot of work with an organisation called Fair Wild, which is basically you pay a premium for that kind of is very, very carefully monitored as to how the premium is spent in the community. So it's kind of everything is always kind of goes back to the communities. We do stuff with amazing things like baobab and wild harvesting of baobab across Africa, and so it's really exciting botanical stuff that goes on. And I approached them. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in the end of 24, and last year I was just like, what do I want my future to be like? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be with? And I was 50, just turned 50 this year, and I was, kind of reaching all those milestones where you kind of just be like, well, what do I want my next period of life to look like? And so got in touch with them and said, look, if you ever are, needing someone with my kind of skill set, actually, I really would love you to know that I really would rather love to work with you. And amazingly, they took me on, which I think is astounding that they took somebody on mid chemo treatment.
Wow.
Took a real punt on me. A woman who's just about to turn 50. They're female-led. But
it speaks volumes of the knowledge that you were able to bring them, what you were bringing to the table.
Yeah, but also I think it's also hopefully it inspires other employers to see, the people that they can employ. But and also hopefully inspires other women of my age that kind of go, actually, we've got careers ahead of us and we've got life ahead of us.
Life doesn't stop at this point.
And also if you've gone through cancer treatment as well, that there are things ahead of you as well.
And that was mentioned on the show as well. You were wearing a headscarf at the time, and I think I saw you put a post on social media afterwards saying that it was filmed prior.
This time last year,
and we're now looking at you with, we actually had a bit of a chat prior to recording, your incredible head of hair, which is way thicker than mine.
Yes,
And
Mum is
you're
very
also
jealous.
going to give us some tips on how to do that, other than suggesting chemo.
yeah, that's what, that was a fringe benefit.
I think there was also rosemary oil, right?
So so rosemary and nettle are two plants which are known to help stimulate hair growth. So when I was very bald and thinking, oh my goodness, on my head, I literally was, had a very alter ego. I looked like a 70-year-old man who drank too much cider. My name was Larry during this process.
Larry.
There was nothing beautiful about my bald chemo look. There's a reason why there were no photos of me online with it. And so as soon as any kind of and it starts to cut, one of the worst things is your hair starts to come back with a major receder. So I was like, oh my goodness, I'm just going to start to now. I'm going to look like Larry with
Larry
his receding.
his
comb over. So I
needed a toupee.
So it starts growing back at the back then.
It does. I think for everybody it's different. I think it could be patchy or whatever. So I started to just rub an oil infused with rosemary and nettle.
Homemade?
I had some homemade, but actually, are we allowed to advertise people on there? It was
yeah,
really amazing. Okay, so
please tell
there's
us.
an amazing woman who actually, I think if you're interested in kind of stuff that I do, you'd all love her. She's Laz the plant scientist, and she's on Instagram, and she's a botanist, and she does herbal. I think she's a medical herbalist. I'm not entirely sure, but she works at Kew Gardens.
Okay.
And on the side also makes some really interesting things. She makes a hair oil and so I bought that hair oil, and actually I've now given it to someone else who's kind of menopausal, going through things. It's being passed around. This is becoming the new thing that's being passed around. But it's so it's got other
I'm
things
straight onto that.
You can buy it. It's amazing, and actually you can see these case studies. But if you don't want to buy a hair oil, all you do is you get rosemary and nettle. I think you can use the seed of nettle as well as the leaves. So right now nettle has sort of gone over its time that you'd want to be eating it. It's become too long and strong, so it's no longer good to eat, good for you. But you can use it when it is in that stage, and you can make a bain-marie. So you put hot water in a pan and then a bowl on top, and put some oil in that. I used olive oil, but you can use kind of whatever oil you want, and you just very, very slowly infuse the rosemary and the nettle in your oil. And as I say, she's added other things which are probably really beneficial as well.
Oh wow.
And there's properties within both rosemary and nettle which help to stimulate your hair growth. So it stimulates the follicles, so it and kind of helps your hair to come back thicker, which is why you can go to shops, you can go to Boots and find rosemary oil, little bottles of rosemary oil. If you make stuff yourself at home, it probably is going to be stronger than the stuff that you buy, unless you buy it from someone that's making it in small batches like Laz. But really worth finding out about.
Rosemary and nettles in abundance.
We do.
Yeah.
I think, Sweet Pea, you should get digging.
You're gonna start rubbing your head with all this oil.
Slapping my head with nettles.
Yeah, you probably. There's that as well. You probably actually stimulates the circulation to scalp. So maybe there's a thing in the whipping.
Well,
get ready, mummy.
Isn't it? That's a suggestion for osteoarthritis.
It is. It works. It's
The
fantastic.
Yeah.
It stimulates your blood flow, but but also it just does lots of things. So nettle helps to. Nettle's fantastic for things like people who've got overreactive with histamine. So if you have kind of bad hay fever, nettle's a thing to have. Eczema, asthma, all of those things. But all of that kind of inflammation based kind of things. It's a hugely important anti-inflammatory.
Plants,
they really are. It really is stunning. Yeah,
you can make a great nettle pesto with it
yes,
as well.
I heard you
So
talk
good.
about that. So good.
That
It's
is delicious,
insane.
Liz. Definitely
How do you
worth
make
a try.
yours?
I did it with walnuts, lemon juice, olive oil,
Parmesan.
and then I put some parmesan in as well, salt and pepper, and I whizzed it up actually in a blender rather than pestle and mortar, and it was delicious. It's so tasty.
Have it on
It truly
flatbreads.
is tasty. Well, I used to make, not used to, I do make nasturtium pesto as well.
Oh, gorgeous.
And I have to say the nasturtium pesto and the nettle pesto knock the socks off any basil pestos that I've had.
Really do.
Anywhere else, and so much cheaper to make than a basil pesto. So, but talking of that, something you mentioned on the show was you said wild food knocks cultivated food out the park when it comes to nutrition.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, for lots of reasons. For one thing, down to how our farming practice. So we as soon as we started cultivating plants and farming plants, we started selecting certain plants. So 12,000 years ago, our diets that we became farmers, and our diets would then start growing monoculture effectively. So we started to select things for kind of going, oh, that produced a really big root, or that one was really sweet, or whatever. And every time you do that, every time you choose a trait, you're losing another trait.
Right.
So
okay, yes.
So there's always a trade-off. So, and one of the traits that we love is sweetness. So we kind of lose bitterness, which tends to be a reflection of lots of nutrition for sweet things and for starchiness and all of those different things. So that's been going on for thousands of years, for a very long time. And the soil is very depleted. So, and this is not a new thing, kind of back in Andalusia, 1,000 years ago, there was a real issue around soil health, which is why we start using clover as a cover crop, because it was suddenly discovered there that actually it was so great at drawing nutrients and nitrogen, fixing the soil, and so there's a long history. We haven't been in this. This isn't a new. This soil depletion we're in is not new. It's been there before, which is encouraging that we've learned.
Green manure.
Yeah, exactly. And we're kind of having to go back. It's good that we're going back. People, kind of farming practices are going backwards into the way that, it was proven and worked. But there's so much less nutrition in the soil at the moment, and how we farm, crops that we grow are so, specifically dependent on certain fertilizers or whatever. So, and at the moment we're, about to enter a real era of real kind of global concern around fertilizer. But actually, again, wild food doesn't need fertilizer to grow,
No, it doesn't.
really well and to have all these crops. And also lots of wild food tends to be perennial. So it's sending down these really big taproots into the subsoil. So one of the relations of Japanese knotweed, for example, is dock. Dock is phenomenally nutritious. It sends down these really, I'm sure every gardener listening to it will know, very deep roots into the subsoil, which are pulling up things like if there's selenium in the soil, it'll be pulling it up. We have a selenium deficiency in the soil, but actually it's pulling them up. And then it does the same thing that Japanese knotweed would do. It grows really big and then flops back down and creates that organic matter on the topsoil.
Right.
But if you eat it, you're getting all of its nutrition. I mean, it's wild greens can be like 10, 12 times more nutritious than conventionally kind of farmed greens. It's just phenomenal, the amount of nutrition that's in them.
Yeah. Very interesting. And we should say, in terms of, when your body was being depleted of various things through your chemo, you are fully recovered now?
Fingers crossed. I had the kind of chemo that needed to go on for quite a long time. So I had chemo, just like a preventative, that finished a few weeks ago. So
only a few weeks ago.
So actually, when the Gardener's World episode with me in it was aired, was days after my final chemo treatment.
Right.
So it was an interesting.
Well, congratulations on
thank
getting
you.
through
Thank
that.
you.
Congrats. Gosh, as I say, I could talk all day with you, Liz, but we must get on with your dream garden. But just briefly, just to wrap up, one other thing you were talking about, you approaching Blue Sky Botanics. So what is your role with Blue Sky?
Oh, well, I have a very
Botanics
lovely
now?
title of a botanical ambassador, which sounds so nice.
That sounds amazing.
It is. So I'm kind of working on projects with them. So I've done so I joined them in January. So the first thing we did was we had a few hundred roses, which are organically grown, so beautiful varieties. And we needed to expand our rose field. So the amazing rosarian Michael Marriott, who has written books on roses and was one of the lead guys at David Austin, he came and advised us on what roses to put in. So we had this very quick end of season window to plant. So that was the first lovely project to work on. And we're doing kind of a lot just to do with kind of just making people a bit more aware of the organisation. I think that it's an era that people need to know about the good work that's going on, especially in food. We're all very concerned about what's on the back of our label, and quite a lot of, especially drinks, people will have a little bit of blue sky in the drinks, and it's a really beautifully, very cleanly made products and sourced really well. And I think we need to know about the good things as well as the ultra processed. We need to know about
for sure.
the good. So partly it's about that. It's going to be about sharing those good news stories and kind of communicating a little bit more about what the organisation does.
What an exciting role!
It's a nice role. Yeah, it is. Alongside teaching my foraging courses, and
that's cool.
I mean, that was one thing we read on your site was you will come to people's gardens as one of the offerings, and you'll go around the garden with them and identify what they can and what they mustn't eat.
Yeah.
Which I imagine is
it's kind of an important one.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Which sounds like a great cause. And then, of course, your books. So we saw you have 3 books at the moment, don't you? Wild Drinks, Forage, and Buds and Blossoms.
Buds and Blossoms, yeah.
What was Forage your first book then?
It was my first book.
Right.
Yeah.
And in there, that'll cover things like knotweed, will it? And
it does, yeah. So it's 50 plants and they kind of are plants which are quite globally sourced, but all that you can gather from the UK. I'm very inland, so I'm not a coastal forager, and so the plants that I talk about are kind of, wherever you live, you will find them basically.
Great.
Yeah, and it's a bit of the history, recipes. Yeah, and so some of the recipes that I cooked on Gardener's World came from my books, but
right.
So it's a really easy introduction to foraging. It's beautifully illustrated. I can say that because I didn't do the illustrations, by a botanical illustrator called Rachel Pedder Smith, who is a really fantastic illustrator.
So, Liz, to start off your dream garden, what would be the garden boundary if you want one at all?
Oh, I've been thinking about this. So my garden here looks out onto it. It's got just a wire fence that then looks out onto a meadow, which then looks out onto the Black Mountains, so the Hatchwell Ridge. So we're really high. We're on top of a hill, and there's something about that I love. That when you're away from the agricultural wire fence, you don't see it, so you have this hidden, the garden follows on before the hay's cut. It looks beautiful, and I let the meadow kind of creep into my garden a little bit. So for a short period of time, I would say bizarrely an agricultural wire fence, if you've got a nice, if it can blur into things afterwards. But if you're not, I'd say a good hedge.
Okay. So would you be where you are now? So looking at
in my dream garden?
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I'm quite a content kind of person. Maybe my garden would extend into the hay meadow a bit more.
Okay. Yeah. So what size is your garden currently?
I think it's a bit hard to say. Our house is sort of sat in the middle of the plot, so I've got 3 little gardens. So I've got a tiny little courtyard garden at the back that's got kind of a stone wall. I love a stone wall. I love a brick wall actually. So maybe a kind of a walled garden. And then I've got the side that was filmed that is wilder, and then I have my need to have a little bit of neat and tidiness in the front garden, which was where our dog basically is as well, so you don't want to kind of forage stuff in there.
Okay, got you. Say no more.
So it does functions. But I think that maybe something with a disappearing view, or with a borrowed view.
Borrowed view, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you said about a little bit of a walled area as well.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of walled is a nice thing.
For that
stone or brick.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for a bit of shelter, because we're very windy where we are.
Quite exposed. Are you born and bred Herefordshire?
No, I was born in North Hertfordshire in Letchworth, which so kind of commuted about from London, and then moved out here. Yeah.
What brought you out there? Was it to be more out in the
countryside? My husband's family were originally from Wales, so we moved into Wales, and then and now we live just on the edge, just outside of Wales, like literally a mile out.
Okay,
that's quite cool.
Yeah, looking into it.
Fantastic.
So you'd stay put where you are, and what sort of size are you imagining?
I'm saying I'd stay put where I was. I wonder actually whether a view of the coast would be a pretty amazing thing, wouldn't it?
That would be.
So
but
sometimes it might, but if it's a dream garden, it can be quite. You can do whatever you want, can't you? So maybe I might just have a switch.
Oh,
I might transport mountains.
Okay,
woods.
like a backdrop that could just appear.
Yes.
So you have your
Sea.
mountains and woods, and then
Yes, and
sea
maybe
when you
move. And
fancy it.
actually, yeah, there's a really lovely book called Putting Back the Apple by someone called Alison Campbell, who she spent a lot of time in walking across Australia with indigenous populations of people, and she then came and did the same kind of walk of looking at what would the indigenous population of the UK have lived like.
Oh yeah.
And she discovered that actually that we would have done that. We would have spent time in the mountains getting the bilberries. You would have then spent time by the coast. You would have then spent time in the woods.
Okay.
So actually, maybe my dream garden reflects the transitory nature of how we used to be when we were more nomadic.
Yeah.
So could my garden be nomadic, please?
You can have a nomadic garden. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking immediately of the Pyrenees is a great place for that, isn't it? Because you've got the mountains right by the sea.
Yes,
absolutely.
You've got that beautiful juxtaposition of the two.
That would be nice. Yeah,
that
there,
sounds
please.
lovely. There.
Great.
There, please.
There, please. Of course. Well, then, would you like a shed or a greenhouse?
A shed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Straight in there.
With a tin roof.
With tin roof.
Why tin specifically?
Oh, I just love a shed with a tin, like so much. I love a shed with a tin roof so much that my children literally now point them out to me because they've had their lives of, oh, there's a lovely shed. My husband loves Land Rovers. So whenever they drive past land, there's a lovely Land Rover and a lovely shed. Yeah, tumble down. It can. I mean, we've got a tin roof shed. It's my favourite thing in the world. It's unfortunately, I'd love to say it was beautiful inside. It's not. It's just crammed full of the detritus of.
Off and the way.
Well, that's fine because that's how it works.
But there's nothing like the sound of rain on a tin roof.
Oh, no.
On a zinc gutter as well.
A zinc gutter,
yeah. I do love a tin roof.
Yeah,
actually.
no, there's something about it, isn't there? And there's something about even the warmth that when it warms up inside a building with a tin roof, it's a different kind of warmth, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
What a great
tin
idea.
Roof.
And what are you keeping in your dream shed? Is it going to just be full of detritus, or are you going to have a seating
No,
space?
it's not. My dream. So that shed out there would be
order.
Little
hooks and everything.
Yes, it would have a little bed because I'd sleep in my shed. I love my shed more than a house. I would live in a shed.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, so much. I love sheds. As a child, I mean, it's come from childhood when my mum and dad had a shed that was, I think, was the original shed to the house. So their house was like one of the exhibition houses in Letchworth, which is an arts and crafts town, and it was an arts and crafts shed, and it was black. Oh God, that smell of the creosote. Oh God, it's gorgeous. But it had a wooden floor. Oh. And yeah, no, I just literally would just go and spend so much time in there. It was my favourite place ever to be in the shed. So yeah, no, I would very happily live in a shed with a veranda, a little bed
in your shed,
a bed in my shed, and
bed in the shed.
Bed in the shed. Literally, that's pretty. In fact, that's it. A desk, a bed,
and that's it.
I think
so.
It's
not really even anything for gardening purposes. It's to have a space.
But
right
you're in the garden.
Yeah,
you're in it.
Yes, yeah.
A big door into the garden, from the shed.
Well, what colour would you like your shed, by the way?
Well, the tin has got to be rusted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, tin has
to
be rusted.
Can't be new.
No.
And the shed could be red brick, or it could be. It could be, but it probably would be wood. Okay. But it could be red brick. Yeah, let's go red brick because I love red brick.
Well, we come on to my favourite part, which would be, what are your 5 favourite ornamentals?
5 favourite ornamentals?
Just 5.
Oh, 5. Well, one of my favourite ornamentals is definitely not to be eaten's foxglove.
Yes, not to be eaten, but absolutely stunning.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And it blurs the boundaries between the wild, complete wild, so we live, our little footpath is a very old footpath and it gets lined with foxgloves.
Oh, magnificent.
And my oldest daughter just used to love foxgloves when she was little. And just so it reminds me of her. But yeah, so when I start I pull foxgloves as they self-seed and then bring them into the garden, and it just feels like it does that, it kind of they act in both worlds, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, love foxgloves.
They're a very happy plant for me.
They
and
are.
They do give a wild feel, and yet are incredibly ornamental.
So beautiful.
And then you got all the little bee butts in all the
Yes.
little tubular flowers.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
Very
gorgeous.
sweet. Nice choice.
Marshmallow. Oh, I love marshmallow.
Oh yes, marshmallow.
One of the best.
Marshmallows.
Oh my goodness, the marshmallow. It grows everywhere in my garden. So my garden, very heavy clay. So it does that either really, really, really wet and kind of even on top of the hill, it flooded, or just bone dry. And it just keeps going. It doesn't matter where I stick it. It's just majestic. It's so beautiful. It's happy, and it takes over that spire from foxglove.
Yes,
later on.
Absolutely.
Oh, we
It's
haven't
delicious.
had a marshmallow before.
Oh, have you not?
So how are
So
you eating
lovely.
them?
Use the roots. So the roots are what marshmallow sweets originally were made from. Back in ancient Egypt.
Back in the day.
I remember
Back in the day, they were turned into hulva, which then turned into sweets, which then got they're just lovely, just very good medicinally as a mucilaginous plant, and in skincare, so they're just lovely. But you can use the leaves and you can use the flowers. Alongside, I have a thing for that family, all edible. I have a thing for that family, so I'd go hollyhock as well.
Oh, are they all edible as well?
All edible.
Right, because we have a lot of those. They
so
good.
You can use the flowers and stuff them. So that all those mallow flowers, even lavatiras as well. But yeah, you could just lovely.
Right,
I like
use
that
those
choice.
as little. I'm on 3 so far, aren't I?
Yeah, you got 2 more.
Viburnum, but not. I love opulus, but I've got a viburnum which never did very well, and I think it has just died, and I'm so sad because I have got it written down. It's very woody and with a lovely. I bought it. I don't know where I bought it from years ago. I'm trying to see whether I can find. And it has very heavily scented, pale pink flowers. Oh my goodness! And it's on the footpath, and you can see people in the spring when they're walking past, and they're like, "What's that smell?" And it's just the waft of this amazing viburnum.
Are you eating that?
No, you can't do any.
Okay.
No, just purely there. Just
we don't have to eat everything in our garden.
No, you don't.
Don't have to eat everything. Well, your final one.
Well, I think, to be honest, and funnily enough, it featured in the episode that I was in, and Monty Don's got lots in his gardens, forget-me-nots.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the thing. What a transformation it makes after the winter when everything is just so bleak looking, and you can go, oh, and suddenly they just cover everything and hide all of the bare earth.
Gorgeous.
And then you do get
I love them.
I love them. Aren't they lovely? They are lovely, lovely things. All guises, I've got some forget-me-nots in the pond. I've got
in the pond.
Water forget-me-nots and
yes, I have heard
beautiful.
Of those. Yeah.
But no, they're a good plant.
One question I did have for you is, do you know about any edible plants, any edible kind of foraging plants that would really surprise some of us that they're actually edible? Any that you've been like, wow, didn't know about this?
The hosta on the program was I think will be a surprise for a lot of people.
Yeah, all the time. Peony. Oh God, I love peonies.
Yeah.
Peonies are great.
They look amazing.
How are you eating your peonies?
Just so lovely. Well, traditionally they were eaten. They were used medicinally. So you can buy peony root, which is used as a spring tonic in sort of medicinal Chinese soups. So slightly bitter, but they've got a lovely flavour. But the leaves, the flowers. So the flowers of peony are bitter. Lots of flowers are bitter and perfume. So imagine, that lovely floral spray of a perfume that if you actually accidentally lick it, you go, oh, it's really bitter. And actually, lots of flowers have got a very similar flavour profile in that way.
Oh,
so
right.
peonies do this amazing thing. They're lovely to eat. You can use them as an edible flower, but their kind of sweetness is is more overtaken by the bitterness. So, which I think is really good, because I think sweet things can become too cloying.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So in my book Buds and Blossoms, which is about lots of edible flowers, mainly the only thing that's got like a cake topped with a flower is it's a square sponge, and it's topped with a massive peony bloom.
Right.
And it looks so, because it's like, if you're going to go big, if you're going to go big, you've got to go for it. I'm not into one flower and a cupcake.
Go
That's
big or
just
go
pointless.
home.
Go home.
That's what we say
Exactly.
about peonies.
Exactly. And it is go big or go home, and it's got that flavour of go big or go home. And so, but inside it, I'm not really a fan of a sponge with jam inside, because it's too sweet. But you can make a jam with peony flowers, which tastes, it's like a bitter marmalade almost. So it's got just all the lovely deeper tones of flavour. So in that sponge is cream and a bit of that peony jam.
Now you're talking sweet peas language.
Peony flower on top.
Can you do that with both the herbaceous and the tree peony?
I don't know about the tree peony. You might find you can, but I have to stick with obviously the things which are kind of proven. Funnily enough, I think that the herbaceous peony came about through the medicinal use of peony, if I'm right. That the tree peony roots, I think, were originally used a long, long time ago. So they were then I think it was Chinese kind of gardens, kind of horticulturists then cultivated the herbaceous to be able to make use of the roots.
Right.
Because otherwise, the tree peony takes so long to grow, doesn't it?
Very true.
Yeah.
So I think that we have
interesting.
Yeah, kind of a sort of Chinese traditional medicine to thank for what we now have. I might be wrong, but that was kind of what I'd read.
Interesting. Well, before I say this next bit, just in the interest of time, we're going to have to rattle through this next part of your dream garden.
Okay.
So
Liz has a meeting to get to.
Liz has a meeting. So what are your 5 edible favourite plants?
Okay, it changes through the year. So kind of like I'm going to be heavily spring focused, and this is where the weeds come in. So I would definitely go nettle at the top, without a doubt.
Every time. Okay.
Yeah, every time.
Are you making everything with that? You're doing teas,
soups, cakes, everything.
Cakes
just
as
cordials. Yeah, great nettle cake is delicious. It can be used in so many things.
Because we've got a time restriction, will we find all that in your forage book if we?
You will.
Great stuff.
And
okay.
in wild drinks. Yeah. Yes. Rose. So good, so beautiful. Can be used in so many different ways. Linden as just a beautiful tree. The lime tree, linden tree. I just love it. The leaves, the buds when they come out, the flowers. There's so many different things you can do with it.
Are you getting a lot from trees in terms of?
I do get a lot from trees. Yeah, absolutely.
What other trees are you thinking?
Hawthorn, really lovely.
Of course,
of the leaves, the flowers, the berries. So you kind of get through that. But there's a whole season in the early part of spring that you have tree leaf salad season for a couple of weeks where you can just go and gather like beech leaves. Linden leaves, all these different leaves, and make lovely salads and stuff. But trees are a really important part of the edible landscape. They're
highly nutritious,
and even actually a lot of the parts of the trees, the fruit trees that we don't know, that we don't use. So I've got a little mulberry tree. I'd love to have a big mulberry tree. I've got a couple of little mulberry trees, and the leaves are incredibly nutritious as well as the fruit. Same with apple. With lots of fruit trees, you can use the leaves in teas.
Right. Yeah, very true.
Okay.
So
very cool.
Where am I at?
You've got 3 nettle, rose, linden, lime tree. What are your 2 others?
2 others. A little tiny weed that most people will just ignore, called swinecriss, which is going to be coming into season soon. Do you know it?
No,
I think I've heard of it.
So good. It
Can
comes
you
if you get
that?
compost. It's quite feathery. It's a summer flower, kind of comes. So you get bittercress in the spring, and you kind of that you weed out the garden. Swinecriss replaces that, so it's quite verdant green. It's quite lime green, and it's almost like carroty leaf looking.
I've just googled it. It reminded me a bit of rocket.
Yeah, it looks the same family. It's a mustard plant, but incredibly peppery. So a bit like Ditanda, which I spoke about as well, being very hot and So it's got that real heat. Delicious.
Lovely. Nice choice.
So swinecriss is a weed that you'll be pulling out and getting rid of. Gosh, there's so many. It's really hard to choose.
It is.
As an edible. Do you know I'm not very good at. I haven't been able to grow successfully yet, but I would love to be able to grow a bit more. Is this 4 or 5?
This is your 5th one.
Oh no, I'm going to change it then. Blackcurrant for the
blackcurrant in there.
For the leaves.
Ooh. Oh, for the leaves.
Oh, and for the wood.
What are you doing with the leaves and the wood?
The leaves have got more vitamin C in than the fruit. They are absolutely phenomenal. So Victorians used to
Seriously?
make, you can make blackcurrant leaf cordial and sorbets.
Oh,
You
I'm
can
doing
infuse
that.
the twigs. If you to prune the tree, the shrub, sorry, you can smash them up and then you can infuse the wood in olive oil and blend it, and then you can use that to make olive oil cakes, which taste like blackcurrant.
Oh,
Oh, just
wow.
amazing. The buds are used in herbal
Wow.
medicine for kind of like respiratory problems and for your throat. There's loads of different things. They're amazing. Taste incredible. And actually, they are so important. When I was in the middle of my chemo treatment and I was bored as a coot, I would go out. I've got a whole row of blackcurrants that I grow for the leaves. This last year, I had my first really big harvest of berries as well. They're still in the freezer. I'm not that bothered by the berries so much. It's the leaves
It's the
that I
rest
love.
of it.
It's the rest of it. And I would sit. Oh, I must have looked like a complete mad thing. And I would take my hat off. I would show my bald head to the blackcurrants, and I would sit and I would talk to the blackcurrant buds because I knew in a few months, there was me rubbing my rosemary oil on my head, and I knew that in a few months that they would open up and they would bloom and they
Just
would
like your head.
be bud just like my head, and they would be alive again. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, blackcurrant. There we go, big symbolic plant.
Well, then what's your one statement tree?
That's a hard one.
I know, we ask demanding questions.
It's a demanding. It really is. It really is.
Newsnight.
It is. Part of. Do you know, there were so many things that I wanted to say. Was it birch? Was it whatever? I don't know. But there is one. There's a tree that I would love to have with me for the whole of my life that I won't be able to unless we live here forever. And it's 2 fields away. It's a specific tree, and it's a linden tree that must be about 1,000 years old. It's a veteran linden tree that was coppiced, and it's so wide that it's almost as wide as a car, and it produces the most beautiful flowers. And I harvest from it, and I actually walk past it every day. And one of the side effects of chemotherapy treatment is that you can't produce much saliva. So when I'm like walking my dog or going for a run or whatever, I'd be like, oh, I've got a really dry mouth. And linden produces lots, is a mucilaginous plant. So it's actually the same family as hollyhock and mallow. It's a Malvaceae family.
Okay.
Oh,
and
interesting.
so I just eat a leaf. If you have a dry mouth, you go out on a walk and you just chew a leaf, and it fills your mouth with like its own saliva.
Right.
It's amazing. So it's good for that. But also the flowers are just magical. They're used to help calm anxious thought. They help with sleep. They're cooling. They're really good for menopause, lots of different things. But yeah, it's a very special tree. And that one tree in particular, where it is very special. And
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's my statement tree. But I can't move it into my garden.
No.
But then it is the garden of all things. So
yeah,
in
so
it goes.
You can.
It'll come.
Next to my tin-roofed
yes,
brick
exactly. Well, I'm going to rush through this next question. Would you like a pond or a pool, and what plant would you have in that area?
A pool I can swim in, and I would have water lily.
Ooh.
Fantastic. So a natural swimming pool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
And a water lily. What colour is your water lily?
White. Doesn't matter really, but white, probably just like our bog standard water lily.
Yeah. And how big's your pool pond going to be?
Oh, enough to, kind of
get some length in.
Quite a size, get some length in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Totally inspired by Nanty Beth Gardens that I was telling you about. They built their own pond with the wood from their land, and it's just beautiful.
Well, final question is, what would be your favourite seating area, drink to have, and a plant to have by your side?
A hammock.
Yes.
We love a hammock.
I planted a cherry tree and a willow tree, hammock width of distance. So my garden that you saw in Garden Hall didn't exist when we moved in. It's totally, it was just a scraggy field. So I plant the two things that I planted specifically were hammock width distance of these 2 trees. So I grew my hammock. So hammock.
So are they big enough now for a hammock?
Yeah. They've been big enough for a few years, and that was where I convalesced after my surgery.
Yes.
In my hammock. Yeah.
What a great place to convalesce.
It was a nice place. So with the trees.
So is the willow, is that the plant of choice for that area?
Well, maybe.
Do you have something else in mind?
Yeah, it's I've struggled with just the one plant of choice.
Oh no, it's kind of like the main plant.
People often go for something scented to have a nice smell near them, or grasses, for example, because they like the sound
White
near
noise.
the white noise near them.
Yeah, maybe
You might have something you just want to pluck and eat.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That really is.
Put in your
Well,
Pims.
yeah, pop in your Pims. Yeah, probably a honeysuckle.
A honeysuckle.
Because I can, you can sit out in the evening.
Absolutely.
I can put it in my drink. I can eat it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
so
what drink
good.
would you have?
With that honeysuckle? Oh,
Yes.
I would just everything. Maybe because it's honeysuckle, it would be now. I would have probably a whole load of strawberries, which I bought a few days earlier, that were starting to look a little bit, the end ones forgotten. I'd mush them up and have them mushed up with a little bit of elderflower cordial and smashed up some honeysuckle in it.
Oh, wow.
So a honeysuckle and elderflower strawberry and maybe some early cherries, but they're not quite out yet. But yeah, that would be
That sounds a great drink. A pretty looking drink as well.
Yeah, really pretty. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, I'm going to really quickly read back to you your dream garden, just in case I've missed anything. So, first of all, it's definitely going to be reflecting nomadic times. We're going far back. We're going to have a light switch, where you can change the view between the Black Mountains or the coast, which will be very pretty. You wanted a wire fence to blur into the landscape. The garden will extend into the meadow and possibly a little walled area as well, possibly some hedges. You then wanted a shed, very important, with a tin roof, slightly rusty. You're going to have a bed in there, a desk so you can sleep and everything, and it's going to be in red brick. Then your 5 ornamentals, we had foxgloves, marshmallows, hollyhocks, viburnum with the pink flowers, forget-me-nots. Your 5 edibles, we had nettles, rose, linden, lime tree, swine cress, and blackcurrants. Your 1 tree was a linden tree, the one that's 2 fields away, but it'll be in your garden this time. Then you wanted a natural swimming pool with a white water lily, big enough so you can swim length. And finally, you're going to have a hammock between 2 trees, a honeysuckle, and a strawberry, elderflower, and honeysuckle cordial.
Oh, that's very lovely. It's made me realise that I am actually pretty content with my lot, because actually it's pretty much what I've got already, apart from the shed that's messy.
Yes. What better place could you be in then?
Yeah,
exactly. Contented place. That sounds wonderful. What a superb garden. And gosh, as I say, could talk to you for hours. But we're definitely going to get your book and get back to you with some questions on that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
No, it's been really lovely speaking to you. Thank you. You've been a real joy. And honestly, I think that it was one of the nicest things to listen to, just you reviewing, and your lovely love of plants comes through hugely, and of each other. So it's been very nice to hang out with you.
I mean, I kind of love her, but she's all right.
Well, thank you so much. That's been a good old chit chat with Liz.
Thanks so much. Bye.